Hello internets, and today's video is going to be another book opinion. Those videos in which I tell you my opinion on a book, and today's book is going to be Rooms by Lauren Oliver. This is a book I picked up purely because of this cover. I don't even really like the color orange, but I just love how this looks, how like all the colors, the pictures, it looks stunning. So I picked it up because it was $1 and it looked great. For this book itself, I would say my opinions on this book are more of like it was a 2.5 and then raised itself up to a 3 by the ending of it. And I don't think it was the book for me, even though it had a lot of concepts that I personally was invested in. So in this book, it follows a family, and they have a death in the family of the husband, and then for the father for the 2 kids. And they all go to his estate, which is like this house that they grew up in, and they're just putting everything together, handling the wake, all of that sort of stuff. Now, this house happens to be haunted by 2 women. They both died in the house, and they have been there for many, many years, and they just haunt the house and comment on the family and what the family's doing. So my favorite parts about this book was this element of the supernatural. I liked having these ghosts haunting this house. I liked them just like wandering around, checking up on what all the other people were doing, and just commenting on it. They had 2 different personalities. One was more like ladylike and very prudish, and the other was just like out there just cursing away at everything. So having these 2 different women just talk about what they are seeing and their commentary on the family around them was really, really fun. And I think that was a saving grace of this book. And I would have just really preferred if it was just this family's in this house, and the 2 ghosts are just going to comment on everything that this family is doing. But of course, we hear from every single character in this book, from all of the family and from these 2 ghosts. So the family includes the ex-wife of the dead man, his 2 children, and then the grandchild of this dead dude, who is the daughter to the daughter of the dude, so the granddaughter, right? And then we have the 2 ghosts. So from all of these people, we get at least 1 chapter. And the thing that I didn't like about this book was that all of these characters were very whiny. So they have had all these tragic pasts happen to them. Well, the living characters, they have had this tragic past happen to them. They've had all sorts of things that like really get to them and like hurt their self-esteem or how they perceive themselves in the world, and they whine about it a lot, and I'm just like, get your life together, okay? Like, you need to stop it. You need to like deal with your issues and stop lashing out at everyone else. Just because you went through some like rough things doesn't mean you can lash out at everyone else, and some of the things you do are really, really, really unhealthy. So I didn't like how they weren't acknowledging their problems. So one of the issues I have with like whiny characters, or what I perceive to be whiny characters, is that I don't like characters who are like, oh, all this tragic stuff happened to me and like my life's so bad, and they end up lashing out at everyone else, and they never take the time to fully contemplate like why they're having these issues, maybe what's affecting why they're acting these certain ways. They're just living in denial. I don't like whiners, and I don't like people who live in denial of their lives. Like, if you're gonna hate yourself, at least know why. Like, that's how I feel. I understand that many other people won't agree, but in my personal opinion, if you're not gonna like something about yourself, at least understand why you don't and accept that. Like, just be introspective, okay? Like, look into your own heart and figure out what's going on. So these living characters really grated on my nerves most of the time, because I was just like, you need to like do some deep soul searching before you start lashing out at everyone else. And then some of the things that these people had that were tragic that happened to them, I was just like, you'll get over that. Like the teenage boy, the tragic thing that happened to him, he was caught jerking off at a party. Like, he went into a bathroom and he was caught jerking off because he didn't lock the door. And like, that's his moment of embarrassment, because everyone now makes fun of him and calls him splooge. And like, that's his biggest issue. And I'm just like, that's really embarrassing. And I feel bad for you, kid. But stop being so emo. Like, that's not the worst thing that could happen to you in life. Otherwise, the ghost characters, I really like their backstories because, like, they've had a lot of time to contemplate these things. And yes, they are in denial, but they, like, are still pretty introspective, and they're talking about their lives, what it was like when they were living, how they're taking in these, like, new people who come into their house, like, what they're thinking about these things, their commentary. They were just, like, more enjoyable characters. Now, whether or not I like them was just beside the point, but they were more interesting, enjoyable characters, seeing them talk about how their living lives has affected them, and then how they, like, interact as ghosts and that sort of thing, and them slowly uncovering truths in their own memories of how they came into the situations they are now, haunting this house. So I liked the ghost characters, and it's probably why I would have preferred if this was just all commentary done by the ghosts themselves, because the ghosts were the interesting part about this book, and the living were pretty, like, eh. I think this book rises itself up to a 3 for me because of the ghost characters. Because by the end of this, and we trying to figure out this history of why these ghosts are trapped in this house, we slowly get to learn more, and, like, the little twist and, like, plot twists and stuff are really, really interesting and really, really fun. So I think I just really preferred the elder characters in this book, the ones who had a lot more time to contemplate their lives, who may have still lived in denial, but, like, were more informed about why they didn't like certain things or why they chose to complain about other things, and they were the fun, interesting ones. The main concept of this book, and, like, the main message of this book, was that you cannot keep secrets. Like, you gotta talk about these things, and you can't just live in denial because everything comes up in the end. I think we slowly see that happen to each and every character. I think it raises to a 3-star because we get to see this happen to the ghost, and they had the most interesting plot line of this whole thing. The other characters, I just didn't like them. So Rooms is, like, an interesting book that blends this idea of, like, keeping all of these secrets, of losing someone in the family, of, like, how you're supposed to, like, relate to your relatives, and, like, dealing with, like, your past issues, your humiliations, the horrible stuff that has happened to you, and just having to deal with it, and all of this culminating. Otherwise, you end up like a sad, lonely ghost haunting a house, trying to figure out why you're still there, but still living in denial because you don't want to admit your reasons as to why. So it's a pretty decent book. I don't think it was the book for me. Like, the conversations and stuff like that weren't what got me. I just didn't like a majority of the characters, so I couldn't really have a good time. And the characters that I did like raised the bar of how much I enjoyed this book, but those other characters just lowered it each time they opened their dumb mouths. So it's a beautiful book. I think it's a decent book. I'm sure that several other people are going to enjoy it more than me. If you like contemporaries in which they mix the supernatural with, like, contemporary, then you're going to maybe like this book. I like the ghost characters, and I enjoyed it that much. So if you like what you're seeing here and you want to continue to see more, click all those bunnies down below, and goodbye, internet.